Hello, I am Nadine Carty-Keynes, and thank you for joining us at the Nevis Emergency Operations Center today, Monday, 5th October 2020, for an update on the situation regarding the novel coronavirus here on Nevis. I want to take this opportunity to welcome all of our viewers and all of our media houses that have joined us. All questions will be taken at the end after each of our presenters would have made their presentations. The Nevis COVID-19 briefing will be aired on Mondays at 8:30 p.m. on Nevis Television, or you can view the briefing on YouTube channels and Facebook pages of Nevis Television, Nevis HBU, and Nevis NDMD. Also, you can listen to the briefing on Vaughan Radio every Tuesday at 1 p.m. With us this evening, we have Mr. Peter Curry, Director and Manager of David Curry and Company Limited, who would make his presentation to the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Social Services in the Department of Social Services Seniors Division.
On behalf of David Curry and Company Limited, we're very happy to contribute a package of medical equipment to the Alexander Hospital, which we hope in a small way would supplement the existing equipment in view of COVID-19. Nevis and its people have always been dear to us. We go back to our parents and founders, David and Josephine Curry, who traded there from the early 1900s and which we have continued. We wish you continued success in coping with the present crisis caused by COVID-19, which your medical team and all related officers has so successfully protected our federation. May God bless you all. Peter Curry on behalf of David Curry and Company Limited. On behalf of David Curry and Company Limited, we are very happy to contribute the sum of $2,000 for the meals for the needy and elderly persons in Nevis. We have had a long and pleasant relationship, both in business and friendship, with the people of Nevis. We wish to extend this gesture at this very difficult time of COVID-19. Thanks to all those who are attending the needy ones at this time. God's blessings to you all. Peter Curry on behalf of David Curry and Company Limited.
On behalf of the Senior Minister of Health, the Honorable Mark Brantley, Junior Minister of Health, Honorable Hazel Brandy Williams, Permanent Secretary, Ms. Shalisa Martin-Clark, I am pleased to accept these oxygen concentrators and also the infrared, non-contact infrared thermometers. We are always grateful when businesses and private citizens partner with us in this fight against COVID. As I always say, the health sector cannot do it alone. We need everyone. We need every single citizen on board doing their part, no matter what little it is, how great it is, to assist us in this fight. I therefore thank David Curry and Company Limited for this very generous contribution. And please, Mr. Peter Curry, please take back our sincere thanks to the other members of your company. And I want to take this opportunity on behalf of the people of Nevis to wish your company every success. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I want to say that generosity is a virtue and gratitude is a virtue. The company of David Curry has thought it very important to contribute in terms of its social responsibility in this time of pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, the company is reaching out to the health sector, and also reaching out to the Ministry of Social Services, the Department of Social Services, and our seniors in particular. There's a check here for $2,000, which should go to the needy and our seniors. And as we know, our seniors are a very vulnerable group. And so, on behalf of the Ministry of Social Development, we wish to extend thanks to David Coury and Company, who is represented here today by Mr. Peter Coury, for this very generous donation. And we plan to use this donation exactly as you would have intended or requested. And so, again, we want to say that we are grateful to the company of David Coury for this very important donation that would go to the needy and the seniors. Thank you very much, Mr. Peter Coury, for representing your company, and we are always grateful when the corporate sector steps up to the plate and take, their social responsibility as seriously as the David Coury Company is doing today. Thanks again.
I want to thank Dr. Judy Nisbett and Dr. Duana Pemberton for accepting on behalf of the Ministry of Health, and Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Social Services, et al., for accepting on behalf of the Department of Social Services, Seniors Division. I'd now like to welcome Dr. Duana Pemberton, who will make her presentation. She's a medical officer in the Accident and Emergency Department at Alexandra Hospital.
Good evening, everyone. In light of the current situation in St. Kitts and Nevis and our neighboring countries, I would like to briefly inform the public about the differences between COVID-19 and dengue. Dengue is caused by one of 4 related viruses, type 1, 2, 3, and 4. For this reason, a person can be infected with dengue multiple times in his or her lifetime. Coronavirus, or COVID-19, is a respiratory illness caused by a coronavirus called SARS-CoV-2. It is unclear if antibodies created from a COVID-19 infection can provide protection against getting infected again. How it is spread. Dengue viruses are spread to people through the bites of infected mosquitoes, mainly Aedes aegypti mosquitoes. The virus that causes COVID-19 is thought to spread mainly through the respiratory droplets produced when a person coughs, sneezes, or talks. Signs and symptoms. The most common symptom of dengue is fever, with any of the following: aches and pains, eye pain, typically behind the eyes, muscle pain, joint pain, or bone pain, nausea and vomiting, and rash. Symptoms of dengue typically last 2 to 7 days. Contact a healthcare provider if you develop a fever or have symptoms of dengue. Signs and symptoms of COVID-19. People with COVID-19 have had a wide range of symptoms reported, ranging from mild symptoms to severe illnesses. Symptoms may appear 2 to 14 days after exposure to the virus. People with these symptoms may have COVID-19. Fever or chills, cough, shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, fatigue, muscle or body ache, headache, new loss of taste or smell, sore throat, congestion or runny nose, nausea or vomiting, diarrhea. This list does not include all possible symptoms, and the CDC will continue to update the list as we learn more about COVID-19. Warning signs or when to seek medical attention. If you develop any of the following symptoms, you should seek medical attention immediately: stomach pain, tenderness in the stomach, vomiting at least 3 times in 24 hours, bleeding from the nose or gums, blood in vomit or stool, feeling tired, restless, or irritable. These are warning signs for dengue. And now for COVID-19, trouble breathing, persistent pain or pressure in the chest, confusion, inability to wake or stay awake, bluish lips or face. This list is not all possible symptoms. Please call your medical provider for any other symptoms that are severe or concerning to you. And now I will repeat in Spanish. Buenas tardes a todo el mundo. Por lo que está pasando en nuestro país y los países vecinos, ahora voy a decir o informar al público las diferencias entre el dengue y el coronavirus. El dengue es causado por uno de cualquiera de 4 virus relacionados, virus tipo 1, 2, 3 y 4. Por esta razón, una persona puede infectarse con el virus del dengue múltiples veces durante su vida. La enfermedad de coronavirus es una enfermedad respiratoria causada por un coronavirus llamado SARS-CoV-2. No está claro si los anticuerpos se crean la infección por el virus que causan el COVID-19. Pueden brindar protección contra una nueva infección. ¿Cómo se transmite? Los virus del dengue se transmiten a las personas por medio de la picadura de mosquitos infectados, principalmente los mosquitos Aedes aegypti. Se cree que el virus que causa el COVID-19 se propaga principalmente a través de las gotas respiratorias que se producen cuando una persona infectada tose, estornuda o habla. Signos y síntomas. El síntoma más común del dengue es la fiebre, junto a cualquier de los siguientes: molestias y dolor, dolor en los ojos, generalmente detrás de los ojos, dolor muscular, dolor en las articulaciones o dolor en los huesos, náuseas y vómitos, sarpullido. Los síntomas de dengue generalmente duran 2 a 7 días. Consulta un proveedor de atención médica si presenta fiebre o síntomas de dengue. Las personas con COVID-19 han notificado una variedad de síntomas que incluyen los siguientes: fiebre o escalofríos, tos, dificultad para respirar, fatiga, dolor de cuerpo en los músculos, dolor de cabeza, dolor de garganta, pérdida reciente del gusto o del olfato, congestión nasal o moqueo, náuseas y vómitos, diarrea. ¿Cuánto tiempo una persona puede estar enfermedad con COVID-19 y mostrar síntomas puede variar? Si usted cree que podría haber estado expuesto a COVID-19, consulte a su proveedor de atención médica inmediatamente. Signos de advertencia. Esté atento a los signos de advertencia de dengue grave, que generalmente comienza entre 24 a 48 horas después de que haya desaparecido la fiebre. Si presenta algunos de los siguientes, busque atención médica inmediato. Dolor o sensibilidad en el estómago, vómitos al menos 3 veces en 24 horas, sangrado por la nariz o las encías, sangrado en los vómitos o las heces, sensación de cansancio, inquietud o irritabilidad. Si presenta alguno de los siguientes que son de COVID-19, busque atención médica de inmediato. Dificultad para respirar, dolor o presión persistente en el pecho, confusión reciente, incapacidad para despertar o permanecer despierto, labios o cara azules. Llama al hospital y dígale que le que la operadora o al proveedor de atención médica que crea que podría tener COVID-19. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pemberton, for your update on the differences between COVID-19 and dengue fever. So I'd now like to welcome Mr. Brian Dyer, who is the Director of the Nevis Emergency Operations Center here on Nevis, to provide his updates.
Hi, good evening all. Thank you for joining us again. As usual, we start with some weather from the Atlantic and Caribbean Sea. The National Hurricane Center is issuing advisories on two systems currently in the Caribbean Sea: Tropical Storm Gamma and Tropical Storm Delta. Tropical Storm Gamma is centered near latitude 22.3 degrees north, 87.6 degrees west, or 139 miles to the east-northeast of Progreso, Mexico, moving southwest at 2 knots. Estimated minimum central pressure 1,003 millibars, maximum sustained wind speed 40 knots with gusts up to 50 knots. Gamma will continue to move westwards as it is being sheared with some strong convection to the southeast. Tropical Storm Delta passed us as a tropical wave last week, Wednesday and Thursday, that provided some rain. It is now progressed to a tropical storm, and it is centered near latitude 16.4 degrees north, 78.6 degrees west, or 117 miles to the south of Negril, Jamaica, moving west at 6 knots. Estimated minimum central pressure 1002 millibars. Maximum sustained winds 40 knots, gusting to 50 knots, with scattered to strong convection between 10 degrees north and 73 degrees west. Delta is expected to turn west-northwest later today. And for a summary of the systems that develop in September, tropical cyclone activity in the Atlantic Basin during the month of September was very busy and set a record for the most named storms forming in a month. 10 named storms formed, with Omar forming from a tropical depression that began late August. 4 of the storms became hurricanes, with 1 Hurricane Teddy reaching major hurricane strength. Based on the 30-year climatology between 1981 and 2010, 4 named storms typically form in the basin in September, with 3 of these becoming hurricanes, and 1 of them becoming a major hurricane. So the prediction for 2020 is bearing true, as there is an extremely active season, with September setting a record based on the climatological data or history for tracking storms. Moving on, I'd like to say a special thank you to the Army Bakery for donating 450 buckets and 1 box of 400 masks to the Nevis Disaster Management Department and the Ministry of Health. And I just want to express our sincere thanks and gratitude to the Army Enterprise for their timely donation that would assist us with regards to our operational readiness. On another note, we have the date as promulgated by the Prime Minister with regards to the opening of our borders. We would encourage persons to continue to wear their masks, as the very life you save may be that of your very own or your family. With regards to our quarantine facilities, please be reminded that persons are not to visit our quarantine facilities or try to circumvent the security system that is in place. There's a fine for doing such activity. Continue to support the Ministry of Health and the Royal St. Christian Nevis Police Force as we try to ensure that our island remain safe from the impact of COVID. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dyer, for your updates. I'd now like to welcome Superintendent David, who will provide his update from the Division C of the Royal and St. Kitts and Nevis Police Force.
Thank you very much, Nadine. Good evening, all. It's a pleasure to be back to provide you with some updates and information that we are happy to share with you at this time. As usual, I will start with my stats as to let you know what we have been doing thus far. Thus far, we have conducted 1,921 patrols, both foot and mobile, 153 vehicle checkpoints. We made 84 arrests, 10 persons were charged, 29 crimes committed are reported, and 19 persons were arrested for these crimes. We have stopped 9,501 vehicles for varying offenses, and 26 persons were informed that there will be summons for various offenses. At this time, I am reminding all our hoteliers to continue to implement the necessary standards as set out in the regulations to ensure that you are ready for the reopening of our borders by the end of this month, and ensuring that all employees are fully aware of what is required of them. All are encouraged to comply with the protocols and avoid prosecution. The penalties, as we'll say to you, is $5,000 or 6 months in prison, or to both, and the forfeiture of any goods or money in respect of which the offense was committed. I'm reminding the general public again that no private parties, beach parties or picnics, banquet, ball, reception, other ceremonies, meeting of fraternal society, private or social club, or civic association or organization, and any other type of event. And remember, if you are an organizer or someone who wants to conduct any of these activities, you are to do so in writing by applying to the Commissioner of Police, who will respond to you whether it's negative or positive, and we expect that you comply with whatever instructions or guidelines given pertaining to the response. All managers and supervisors of businesses and heads of government departments are reminded to ensure that persons entering your facilities are wearing the masks, covering their nose and faces. I must say to you, yes, there are some persons that say to me, Superintendent David, you are saying that we must wear masks, but I've seen some officers not wearing masks. Some of them do not want to even hand sanitize. I am happy that you report these matters to me, and I have taken them very seriously. I have since spoken to my officers that they are to ensure that they comply with the protocol as well. No one is exempted, and I want to continue to encourage our citizens to continue to report breaches, and that we can do good with the report you made. And I thank you for informing me regarding the officers not complying. We will take the necessary measures in place, whether we have to discipline them or not. But we are saying to you, continue to report, and we will take the necessary measures. But definitely, we will not tolerate that, so officers will be spoken to, or sometimes we can take them before our disciplinary tribunal for that breach. We want the officers to understand as well that failure or neglecting to do so, some persons may say it's an excuse for me to do likewise, but we are saying to you, ignorance is no excuse to the law. Even though someone is doing it, that doesn't mean say that it's right for you to do it as well. So continue to comply and ensure that we have good process taking place. Just a reminder to all heads of sporting organizations or groups to ensure that players and coaches, all who are involved, are continuing to follow the protocols regarding COVID-19 and ensure that they have permission to carry out the necessary activities from the Ministry of Sport in consultation with the task force. Again, all owners and operators of motor omnibuses, hire vehicles, passenger ferry or catamaran, we are saying to you, continue to comply, and those who are not complying fully, ensure that you're doing so. Remember, our borders will be opening, and it means that the threat will be getting greater. So we are saying to you, now is the time. Protect your loved one, protect yourselves, and protect the wider society. We cannot wait until something happens to then start to do it, but now is the time. Mr. Brian Dyer mentioned about visits to quarantine sites. I am repeating, no visits to any quarantine site. And quarantine site here means whether it's public or privately operated or owned. No one should enter there. If you are in a private facility, it is not an excuse to say, okay, that's my brother, that's my father, that's my sister. Stay away. We are saying to you, you will be prosecuted. And we will not take these matters lightly, as we have seen around the world, where persons would have breached the necessary protocols, and we have seen a resurgence of COVID-19 in those areas. Yes, I am saying to all that we have had investigations taking place regarding persons who visited the site. We are in our final stages, and as soon as we completed that and the evidence is clear, we will proceed with prosecution. And we are saying to you, those of you who have done so, not knowing to us, do not do it again. And those of you who intended to doing it, do not do it. You're caught, you will be prosecuted. I take this opportunity to thank God for his continued mercies and blessings on the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis to allow us to continue to do our part in ensuring that we do not have any spread of COVID-19 in the Federation and continue to protect us. The governments, both local and federal, for their contribution towards the entire process. The staff of the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, not only generally but locally here in the island of Nevis, for your hard work and dedication. For the medical staff, Dr.Judy Nisbett and her team, for your continued work, especially for those persons who we would have been quarantined and some persons who were isolated. We did a good job with the mercies of God, and we have full recovery from those who were affected. Mr. Brian Dyer and the staff continue for your continued hard work in ensuring that the coordination continue to take place, and will be improving from time to time, and we are preparing for the reopening. We know that the coordination will improve even more. Other essential workers for your part that you're playing. The media, thank you for allowing us to utilize your services to take our message out to the public. And from time to time, the media will also let us know our shortcomings and praise us as well. Your good citizens who continue to support us, thank you very much. I want to thank those persons who gave me the information, not only for persons who are breaching, but my own officers. And it's good to know that persons are reporting the police, because I'm saying that should not happen. And I thank you, and we will take all measures to ensure that our officers are abiding. As we want you to abide, we should abide as well. So we want to thank you for that. And those persons who are not complying fully, we are saying to you, come on board. The period of opening is just at the door. Do not wait until a loved one of yours come down with COVID, because we are now open and the risk is much greater. Now is the time to put things in place. So I want to thank you very much, and do enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you, Superintendent David, for your updates. And now I'd like to welcome our final presenter, Dr. Judy Nisbett, Chair of the Nevis COVID-19 Task Force here on Nevis.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Mrs. Carty-Keynes. As of today, the COVID-19 cases globally has surpassed 35 million, and the deaths have tragically surpassed 1 million, with a total as of today of 1,035,341 deaths. We note that there's a surge of cases in Southeast Asia and an upward trajectory in the Northern Hemisphere. The region of the Americas to which we belong has the most cases, with the USA having recorded 7.3 million and Brazil 4.9 million cases since the start of the pandemic. Of note, the USA is reporting an increase in cases in 33 states and an increase in deaths in 35 states. The second most affected area worldwide is Southeast Asia with 7.4 million cases. According to the Caribbean Public Health Agency, as of October 1st, the 33 countries, territories, and areas of the Caribbean reported 225,846 cases, with 132,134 persons recovered. And that is more than half, of course, of the 225,000. There have been 3,860 deaths, with 90 occurring over the last week. On Nevis, we continue to test for various reasons, mainly for travel out of Nevis as required by countries, and for persons being released from quarantine. Thus far, we have tested 403 persons, with 390 persons testing negative and 6 persons testing positive. There are 4 persons who are fully recovered and 2 persons remain in isolation. There are 9 tests pending. 27 persons are quarantined currently, while 394 persons have been released from quarantine. Over a period of 158 days, we have repatriated 201 persons, and of these, 174 have left quarantine with a negative test. About 10% of the global population has been affected by COVID-19 thus far. And this means that the majority of persons worldwide remain at risk. And that includes the vast majority of persons on Nevis, of course, since we have had only 6 confirmed cases. We have the tools to keep us safe if we use them. These tools are the preventive measures that are at our disposal. We urge everyone to practice the preventive measures and keep Nevis safe. We are on the verge of opening our borders, as Mr. Dyer and the superintendent would have said. There isn't a vaccine yet, and when there is a vaccine, it is likely that the entire population of St. Kitts and Nevis will not be vaccinated right away, with the more vulnerable of our population being prioritized. So the preventive tools of social distancing and physical distancing, including avoiding crowded areas, washing of hands correctly and frequently, wearing of face masks correctly, covering your nose and your mouth, cleaning high-touch areas often, sneeze and cough etiquette, keeping hands out of your face, staying at home if you're sick with a respiratory illness, and call ahead before heading to your healthcare professional. So these are some of the tools that we have at our disposal. We know these. We have to be disciplined and practice using these tools to keep us all safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Judy Nisbett. And there you have it. We've had all our presenters today. And I'd now like to welcome any questions from our media persons who are here with us this evening.
Morning, Washington. It's Nevis Observer in your paper. My first question goes to Dr. Judy Nisbett. Can we have an update on the 2 persons with COVID on the island?
Good evening, Monique. Thank you for your question. The two persons recently diagnosed with COVID-19 on Nevis are doing quite well. They have no symptoms at this time. They have been symptom-free for quite some time now. We are, as you know, to determine recovery, we usually let some time pass, as much as 14 days before we retest. So we are approaching that time when we will determine whether or not there is recovery. So they are doing quite well right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Judy Nisbett. Thank you, Monique, for your question.
Monique Washington, again, I think it's Nevis Observer newspaper, and this question I think will go to Mr. Lyndon David. During Dr. Judy, she spoke about preventative measures to prevent COVID-19, with the first one being avoiding crowded areas. Now, my question to Mr. David is what the police is the police doing, or even the COVID-19 task force, to prevent crowded areas?
Thank you, Al. Superintendent will answer that question.
Thank you very much, Monique, for that question. What we are doing thus far, we are monitoring, and in terms of organized events, we have placed some restrictions on them. We are looking at the numbers of persons who are applying for having activities that will require large numbers of persons to be present, and we are controlling that. In terms of the general population, in terms of movement, this is where the challenge will come in, because you have the entire community to deal with now. That's why we are appealing to the conscience of the persons to realize, look, now that we are nearing reopening of the borders, we have this care of duty to protect first myself, my immediate loved ones, and persons with whom I may be in contact from time to time. And we have seen where countries would have opened up and they had to reclose again and have say curfews imposed. And we have been enjoying that privilege of moving about for some time because we were practicing good things initially. But we are still seeing some persons who do not want to comply. And as we're going to be open up, it is even more important for persons to realize the situation. Don't wait until you are infected to want to take these measures seriously, but do it before. So we are doing what we can in terms of large gatherings of persons, in terms of the COVID-19 regulation. Thank you very much.
Daniel Moore, Von Radio. Are there any active cases of dengue on Nevis? Dr. Judy Nisbett will respond.
Thank you, Ms. Moore, for your question. We don't have any active dengue cases on Nevis. However, we appeal to persons to continue to keep the mosquito population down. And to do this, it means then that they have to ensure that there are no areas where mosquitoes can breed, and to eliminate any source at all that might be around them. It means ensuring that there are no containers that can hold water, that can cause breeding of mosquitoes, so that we can keep our cases down. As a matter of fact, we would prefer not to have any cases of dengue. But if everybody does their part, pulls their weight, then that is what would happen. So thank you very much, and I appeal to the general public to keep the mosquito population down. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nisbett. Any further questions?
Monique Washington, Observer. My last question to Dr. Judy Nisbett. Schools have reopened, of course, and many schools are on a shift system, especially the high schools, and we have noticed that during the course of the day, we will see a lot of students in Charlestown, some of them not wearing masks. When the borders reopen, does the COVID-19 task force plan to revisit the rules as it relates to children and them being, for lack of better words, unprotected, not wearing masks in public?
Thank you, Monique. Just for clarification, are you specifically the high schoolers in terms of movement throughout town without mask on?
With all schools,
All
from pre to heavy.
Okay,
I should say sixth form as well.
thank you.
So, Monique, it is really unfortunate that there are still children walking around without masks, because this is one of the measures that we have been speaking about for a very long time. We really have to encourage persons to get serious about this, including the children. We know that persons, children 6 and under, are not required to wear the mask because they might not be able to manage. However, persons who are older than that, they are encouraged to wear their masks, and with the opening of the borders, this is even more important. And therefore, we would have to strengthen our surveillance in that area and work along with the police in ensuring that this happens. So those persons who are between 6 and 11, they should be wearing their mask if they are being supervised. So it means then that if they are walking through town, they are not supervised. Technically, we can't really do anything about that. But once they are in the company of an adult, we expect that they should be wearing their mask.
Thank you, Monique Washington. Thank you, Nevis Observer, and thank you to the Daniel Moore of On Radio for your questions today. I'd just like to say thank you to all of our presenters and thank you to our media houses. I also want to add that the best way we can protect ourselves and others is to follow travel guidelines, wash your hands, avoid touching your face, cover your nose and your mouth when you cough and sneeze, avoid contact with persons who are ill, clean and disinfect surfaces often, stay at home when you're sick, and maintain healthy habits. I also want to remind persons of some of the symptoms suggestive of COVID-19: fever, cough, shortness of breath, loss of taste and smell, runny nose, sore throat, just to name a few. I want to say thank you to the disaster management area, Nevis Television, Caribbean Digital Display Limited, Cornerstone, staff of Health Promotion, and the task force for making this briefing possible. I am Nadine Carty-Keynes, and thank you for viewing. And join us again on Mondays at 8:30 p.m. for the Nevis COVID-19 briefing on Nevis Television. Thank you for viewing, and do have a pleasant evening, and please do stay safe.